recording a video on this. So I just wanted to come on, hang out, and, do the recording with you. While I am doing this, I'm going to be recording right here. So I'm going to be looking here, talking here, but I'm also on here. So you get to watch the process. You get an early screening of the video if you do, which is pretty sick. What a deal. What a deal. Let me tell you. All right, I'm actually going to start recording. I'm probably going to do a couple different versions of this. And Tracy Ward, hello, you are first. Nice to see you. Greetings and salutations. I'm about to start recording a video. I need to make sure my camera is on. Well, welcome in. I'm glad you're honored. Glad to have you in. You need more young Deb? Okay. Okay. Interesting. More young Deb? More young Deb? Okay, that's about it. Oh, why is it dim? Why am I dim on camera? Guys, I'm about to start recording a video, so just as a heads up, that's what I will be doing in this. Okay, there we go. We are on. We are on. So that's what's about to happen. There's a reason this man never made it into the TV show. There's a reason this man never made it into The Walking Dead on AMC. One of the most disturbing storylines in The Walking Dead... Fuck. Go Phillies. One of the most disturbing storylines in the Walking Dead comics didn't just get changed for TV, it was completely erased. Because what Thomas Richard did inside the prison was too dark even for AMC to touch. Because what Thomas Richards did inside the prison was too dark for AMC to even touch. He's not a walker, he's not a warlord, he's honestly something worse. A predator hiding in plain sight, and his story reveals just how far humanity has fallen in Robert Kirkman's Fucking A. Shit. He's not a walker, he's not a warlord, he's something else. A predatory... Why can't I get this line right? He's not a walker, he's not a warlord, he's something worse. A predator hiding in plain sight. And his story reveals just how far humanity has fallen in Robert Kirkman's post-apocalyptic nightmare. Something that was not portrayed in the same way on TV. This is the darkest story arc from The Walking Dead's comics that AMC banned from the TV show, and why I think they made a huge mistake. So let's talk about the man at the center of the whole thing, Thomas Richards. In the comics, he's introduced during the prisoner arc, one of the 4 inmates who survived the outbreak locked inside the prison before Rick's group inevitably shows up. And at first, Thomas honestly seems harmless. At the most, he's quiet and awkward, really. He tells everyone he used to be an accountant, totally not built for this new world. And especially compared to the other inmates like Dexter and Axel, he doesn't exactly scream a threat. But right around the time that things start to settle down in the prison, that's when everything changes. Herschel's twin daughters, Rachel and Susie, are found brutally Why did I write undurfed? I wrote undurfed to say murder here. Herschel's twin daughters, Rachel and Susie, are found brutally unalived. I don't want to say the actual word in the video. And though the act itself is off-page, it's still shockingly violent, and no one knows who did it. In a lot of ways, it's pretty similar in that regard to the whole sickness storyline in The Walking Dead on AMC. We're going to talk more about the show later, but just wanted to throw that in. Hi, I am talking about Thomas Richards, who was a character in The Walking Dead's comics in the prisoner arc that they never adapted on screen. So that's what the premise of this video is, by the way. It doesn't take long before suspicion falls on Thomas, and when he tried to murder Andrea, straight up lunges at her with... It doesn't take long before suspicion starts to fall on Thomas in particular, and when he tried to murder Andrea, straight up lunging at her with a knife, it confirms what readers had already suspected. This guy isn't just unhinged, he's a full-blown predator. Rick's group immediately realizes what they're dealing with. He's not a victim of the apocalypse because he's been locked away this entire time, but instead, he's a victim of the past. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Rick's group immediately realizes what they're dealing with. He's not a victim of the apocalypse. He was a monster long before the world fell apart, a very real one that we see in current society today. The only difference here is the apocalypse gave him room to roam. What follows is one of the most intense moral debates in the series so far. Do they execute him? Do they lock him up? Let the walkers eat him? There are a million outcomes they could do, but none of them are exactly easy. In this conundrum, it's the first time Rick is forced to seriously confront what justice even means in this new world. Now look, I get it, the storyline was brutal, maybe too brutal for cable TV. AMC probably thought, why risk the backlash? We've already got, I don't like the way I'm delivering that, fudgeroni. Now look, I get it, the storyline was just way too brutal, and maybe too brutal for cable TV. I'm sure AMC thought about the backlash that they could get for things like that, and they just decided not to take the risk. But here's the thing, this wasn't just some shocking But here's the thing about that, this wasn't just some shock value subplot. But here's the thing about that, this wasn't just some shock value subplot. Thomas Richards meant something to the story. He had a lasting impact on The Walking Dead's comics. His story represented one of the biggest truths about the apocalypse, that the real monsters aren't always undead, they're sometimes just right in front of us. For the first time in the comics, his character forces Rick and us to confront what happens when society collapses. What happens to justice in an unjust world already? Like, what happens when there's no cops, no courts, just survivors trying to figure it out on their own? Thomas exposes how fragile morality really is in this world. It was the very first time that Rick Grimes takes a life that isn't a walker, and it completely breaks him. Is that the first time? I can't remember. I thought it was the first time. Why am I writing it if I don't know? That's not true. It was definitely the first time. It was definitely the first time that we saw Rick have to deal with something like this and decide to take a life based on something morality driven and justice, really. And it was something that was truly character defining for him. That moment sets the tone for everything that follows, his shift into the man that he becomes. The hardened leader, the guy who has to carry the weight of every decision. Without Thomas Richards, Without Thomas Richards, the show missed a huge opportunity to explore the early transformation, to show that Rick wasn't just shaped by outside threats, he was shaped by what he had to do. Excuse me. Hi everyone, by the way. Without Thomas Richards, the show missed a huge opportunity to explore that early transformation, to show that Rick wasn't just shaped by outside threats. He was shaped by what he had to do to people like Thomas. And yeah, it was dark, but that darkness, that's what made The Walking Dead feel real. It wasn't just zombies and drama. It was about how far people had fought. I'm having a hard time today, guys. Usually these videos are quick. It wasn't just... And yeah, it was dark, but that darkness, that's what made The Walking Dead feel real. It wasn't just zombies and drama. It was about how far people fell in a world that was overrun by walkers. It was about how far people fall when the world ends. And Thomas Richards was the first reminder of that. He didn't need to be a multi-episode arc, but a one-off episode, a prison murder mystery, that could have been... He didn't need to be like a multi-episode arc or anything like that. Maybe it could have just been a one-off episode or like a prison murder mystery, but at least that would have given us something, and it could have been something really chilling like it was in the comics, even if they had to change some things around for screen, which I understand because the premise of what he did was just a little too much. I mean, either way, it would have been one of the most unforgettable moments in the entire show. I mean, I think they played it safe. In a story about survival, I mean, I think they played it safe, to be honest. And in a story about survival at large, about humanity being pushed to the edge, playing it safe kind of misses the point. So, just for poops and laughs, let's say AMC did want to include Thomas Richards. Could they have actually pulled it off without going full shock horror mode? Honestly, yeah, I really do think so. And I mean, at that, it wouldn't have taken much either. Like I already mentioned, they didn't need to show everything. In fact, I think the horror hits harder sometimes when you don't. I mean, I think one of the most I think one of the most impactful elements I mean, I think one of the most impactful I mean, I think one of the most impactful examples of this is Jaws and how the shark itself broke down so they couldn't use it for a lot of the shots, but that actually made it more scary. The difference here is you're substituting some of the inappropriate things, I guess you should say, for TV with things that are implied, and you still do an even better job because it's scary. It's more scary when you have to use your imagination, and they could have really played with that here. Like, instead of showing the crime, just focus on the aftermath, the fear, the confusion, the tension building inside the prison. And you didn't even have to use children to do that. You could have used other members of the prison themselves. Just at least, like, let the audience feel like something is off. You know what I mean? You could even Hell, you could even make it a slow burn murder mystery, kind of like what they already did, like I mentioned, with the whole virus storyline and how Carol was the one killing the sick people. I think that was the show's way of trying to give us something like this storyline, but in the show. And I just don't think it had the same resonance because something as creepy as Thomas Richards it just holds more weight. But at least At least let viewers guess who did it, just like they did with Carol. Maybe throw in false leads, and then when it's revealed that it's Thomas, this quiet, seemingly harmless guy is the... This quiet, seemingly harmless guy is the gut punch itself. This quiet, seemingly harmless guy, that's the gut punch. I'm going to try that one more time. This quiet, seemingly harmless guy, that's the gut punch. You don't necessarily need gore to disturb people, and I know the show itself is relatively gory, but it's just not needed. Just show the impact, show Herschel's grief, Andrea's trauma, Rick being forced to make a very tough decision in an unjust world. I wholeheartedly believe handled with care, it could have been one of the most powerful episodes in the series. Dark, yeah, of course, but The Walking Dead's always been a little bit dark. At least this would make it meaningful. And not only just meaningful, it would be totally in line with what The Walking Dead is really about. Because as you guys know, this isn't just about walkers. It's about people that Because as you guys know, the world isn't just... Excuse me. Sorry. Because as you guys know, this world isn't just about walkers. It's about people you can't trust. And Because as you guys know, because this world isn't just about walkers. It's about the people you can't trust, the ones who look normal. And that's exactly what Thomas Richards was in the comics. So let's circle it back. Let's double click on the beginning of this, okay? That's some corporate lingo for you. By the way, what does that mean? What does double click mean? I've heard that a ton, and it just makes me want to cringe. Okay, sorry, I'm going off topic. Back to the video. We're talking about Thomas Richards. Thomas Richards wasn't just a throwaway villain. He was one of the first signs that the world of The Walking Dead wasn't just about zombies, and that's why it wasn't dangerous. You know what I mean? I didn't like that. So let's bring all of this together. Let's circle back. Let's put a pin in what we were already talking about and double click on this. That's some corporate lingo, by the way. I don't know if you guys have to deal with any of that corporate lingo, but who says that? Whatever. Anyway, Thomas Richards himself wasn't just a throwaway villain. He was one of the first signs that the world of The Walking Dead wasn't just about the dead. He showed us that this world is dangerous because of us. I'm going to retry that just the normal way, because I don't know if I need to go on a tangent. So let's bring all of this together. Thomas Richards wasn't just a throwaway villain. He was one of the first signs that the world of The Walking Dead wasn't just dangerous because of the dead, it was dangerous because of us. His story was dark, disturbing, and real, and yeah, it was probably a bit too much for AMC at the time, but skipping it meant skipping a defining moment. Rick's first real, trial-style execution. Realistically, the group's first real test of justice, and a terrifying... The group's first real test of justice, and a terrifying reminder that evil didn't die with the old world. I mean, at large, I get why they didn't adapt it, but I still think they should have. Even toned down, it would have added depth to the prison arc and grounded the entire story. Bottom line, I think it would have made The Walking Dead's AMC adaptation truly human. And that's what The Walking Dead always did best, when it leaned into it. And that's what The Walking Dead always did best when it leaned into it. It showed us that sometimes the scariest monsters are still within us. And that's what The Walking Dead always did best. It leaned into it. It showed us that sometimes the scariest monsters are just still breathing. But with all that said, what do you think? But with all that said, what do you think? Do you think the story would have been too much for TV, or do you think the show missed a gigantic opportunity here? Definitely drop your takes on this in the comments. I'll be down there talking with all of you guys when you post them, so I look forward to that. It's a way to further the video and continue it going down there, so thank you for that. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a like button so we can share it with more people, and subscribe and consider becoming a channel member if you haven't already. And with all that out of the way, thank you again so much for watching this video, and until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Peace out. Oh, I could hear the plosives on the peace. This was me. This is the mic. This was me. Peace out. How did that sound? Didn't sound good. I could feel it. I hope it didn't come out on screen. So yeah, you guys just watched me record a video. I feel really weird about doing this like behind the scenes thing. I might actually do another while I'm here because I'm not going to be able to film in the next couple days, and I have the apartment to myself right now. So I might film another, but also like I'm not going to force it because I don't really, this was the only other one that I was like actively working on. Let's see, I might film another. And for you guys curious what the setup looks like, this is what we're rocking with. Hi, this is me. This is what we're using. So maybe I'll just leave it here for a second because I'm curious if I should do another. I'm just waiting for the first one I did to Remux. So what'd it do? What's the deal? How's it hanging? How's it flicking? If it does, what's the deal? I need some water. So just bear with me 2 seconds while I go grab my aqua. For those of you who guys didn't know, this is not a window. This is the door to my apartment. Plot twist, I know. I live in a studio technically, but it's a 1-bedroom just without a door. I don't know why. They call it an alcove. So we put this thing up as a means to like, I don't know, block it out. But you thought it was a window? I know, and someone else told me that. I forget who I was on. I think it was The Walking David, maybe, or it was Frankie. I think it was Frankie Corcoran. I was showing this, and he was like, "That's not a window!" But no, it's not a window. This is my apartment. Hold on 1 sec. I'm just getting the water. And you could probably still hear me, because all I did was go right out here. Ah, damn it. My water's, like, empty. Lovely. I just needed a sip anyway. I'm spinning like a ballerina. All right, what else can we film? Oh, if you guys, what do I think of Scotland? I've never been. It seems like a fun place to be. What else could I film? Let's check out on Notion and see what we got. In New York, Amelera. All right, let's see what we could film. Let's see. I already did The Last of Us. I don't want to do The Last of Us. Anything with that. Honestly, the first episode kind of sucks. Did I write the script for this? No. Did I write the script for this? I can't remember. I'm trying to find some videos that I wrote scripts for already. I'm checking out my Notion board real quick just to see the differences between Negan and the show and the comics. Did I already do an outline for this? I already made my thumbnail. Let's see. The wasted potential of Morales. No. The biggest plot holes in Dexter. Let's see. What should I film here? You know what? I'm going to make a video talking about The Ones Who Live. because I have this idea and I've had it for some time. So I wanted to talk about it. That's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about it. And by the way, yeah, I'm wearing gym pants, but they look really small. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's do it. Let's do this. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a little bit over a year since we've seen... Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a little bit over a year since the last episode of The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, aired. And I think it's safe to say that the show left a mark on all of us. I think a lot of us had different feelings about it, and in retrospect, I think it was something we needed to see no matter what. But to get to the conclusion that we got to, brought on a lot of controversies along the way. And now that we've had a year plus to sit on the concept and think about whether it worked or not, I still have a lot of thoughts. Some of them are the same, some of them are different from when I first watched the show. So I just wanted to talk about that at large. Objectively speaking, no matter what, we needed to see Rick Grimes. We needed to see him. And quite frankly, I didn't care how we saw him. Didn't matter if we saw him for one episode, one movie, one series. I didn't care. I just wanted some form of closure with our community and Rick Grimes. And no matter what, no matter where the story ended up going, what we didn't like about it or whatever, I can safely say, after a year of pondering on it, that I am satisfied with the reintroduction to Rick Grimes. And frankly, I'm relatively satisfied with where it took the character, meaning his resolution, I guess you could say. So honestly, like, no matter what my criticisms are of the show, which there 100% are some still, and we're going to talk about them, but regardless, with those in mind, I'm still satisfied. Like, I'm okay. And I made a video about this recently about whether we should see Rick Grimes again or not. And I personally think the answer is, one, should we? I mean, yeah, why not? But like, also no. That's how I feel about it if you didn't watch the video. But if you didn't watch the video, check it out. Either way, I think the show left me in a place where I was satisfied enough as to not need to see him again. Should we see his reunion with Daryl? Should we see it with Negan or something? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, why not? If Andrew Lincoln's available to film and they have an idea, I don't think it would hurt anyone to film anything. But I don't really think we need to, if that makes any sense. Like, I'm okay. I'm content. And if there is any praise that I could give the show, it's that. It's solely that. Even if I didn't love everything they did, even if I didn't love where they brought Rick's character for just sake of argument, I'm still okay. And that's it. I'm not going to beat this dead horse too much, but I wanted to make that point clear because that kind of was the point of the series. It's just some of the decisions they made really kind of took me out of it. Again, not Rick at large, but things that took me out of it were the CRM, the fact that we didn't get any form of reunion with Alexandria, believe it or not, the Father Gabriel cameo, which I thought just felt so fucking out of place, even though I love Father Gabriel. Just those elements, if they had tightened them, I think this could have been a perfect 6-episode run. Unfortunately, what we did end up getting was a run that was really 4 episodes strong, and then the last 2 were pure steaming piles of poopy, so it took it down like a couple notches. Honestly, that's how I feel about it. If I had to sum it up, really, I think you could obviously see, and I think this still stands up even a year later, the first episode was by far the best episode. Episode 2, really great too. I can't say I have any issues with it. It's just the show was supposed to be about Rick Grimes and the whole episode was about Michonne, and yeah, you had to like sum that up a little bit, but also in the same vein, we should be focusing on Rick. And then episode 3 was just interesting to see the reintegration of Michonne with Rick in this new environment, so that's why I like that. And then episode 4 was that bottle episode that was just really well written. And I think that episode, I said it then and I'll say it now, I think that episode would have been absolutely phenomenal and more deserving if this was in like a 10 or 16 episode run series. But in a 6 episode run series, I still wholeheartedly think that that should not have been the entire episode. Because when you have an episode that just focuses on 2 people in a crumbling building that made no sense for them to stay in no matter what, I think if you focus on the 2 people like that, it really screws you up for the final 2 episodes. And frankly, that's exactly what we got. We got 5 and 6. 5 was, I thought, a really bad episode. The only thing that we got there that I liked was the death of Jadis. And sure, on paper and just on a quick shock value, it was really cool to see Father Gabriel. But I don't think it made any sense to try to humanize Jadis when we've seen her for so long and make that the central point of your episode. It was almost like Jadis was the bigger villain than General Beale, which is definitely not true, even though to Rick as an antagonist it may be true. It's just like, I love Jadis, and I'm saying this from a place of me always having had some interest in Jadis as a character. But we've already seen enough of Jadis or Anne, so we know who she is. We don't need a whole episode explaining why she's not a horrible person. We already kind of got that, and plus you don't need to humanize her. Like I said, we knew her, and 2, in the eyes of this story, she needed to die. So like it doesn't really matter how much you try to humanize her, you're just wasting screen time. And that was one of the biggest things for me that still, even a year later, has stuck with me. It's like, why would they do that? I get it, she was a big character, but in the end of the day, doing that kind of just threw off the pacing, I thought, a lot. And it really, really showed itself in the final episode. If I could equate the final episode to anything, it would be season 8 of Game of Thrones. I said it then, and I'll say it now. I think this episode was so rushed, while on paper, the ideas being okay. Like the idea of Rick and Michonne in some form of a theory taking down the CRM isn't crazy. Like I don't hate that or anything. It's just, it was done way too quick and in the most unbelievable way to honestly single-handedly ruin the series for me. Like it really did. Even if I'm okay with where Rick went, the way that unfolded and went down was just so out of pocket that I just couldn't stomach it. I really couldn't. And one of the things, and it still sticks with me, guys, it's been a long time, but it still sticks with me, that after the whole thing went down, we're going to get to the fact that the one girl whose name now I completely forget survived all of that when everyone else died. But when Rick and Michonne come out of the water jug after they blew up the CRM when everyone else died, they just come back unscathed and take off their masks when it was like the mustard gas or whatever? What? The math is not mathing. It hasn't mathed for a year. That doesn't make any sense to me. They literally waited, 5 minutes? Then took off the mask when you could literally see the plumes of smoke from the tear gas or mustard gas or whatever it was. And they just think they're fine? Guess what, you bozo? Smoke rises. Why would they take it off? Like, it didn't make any sense. I'm sorry, that if there's one little detail that pissed me off, it is that detail. Because I just didn't think it made any sense to put in there, let alone the fact that I can't even remember her name. The other girl who was like going to be rising the ranks with Rick. That honestly, if that says anything, the fact that I can't remember her character's name says something about the way that character was written. Nothing against, I think her name's Leslie Ann Brandt, who played that character. But nothing against her, but like, she was a forgetful character. Whatever. How did she survive? Where did she get the gas mask? Like, those little details just really stunk. It sucked the life out of the show. I'm not going to lie, because honestly, again, you had ironclad 4 episodes. You had 4 really solid episodes, but then you had 2 to wrap it up. If in some way they could have extended it a few more episodes or just came up with a better way to pace this story, maybe cut out half of the Jadis shit, you could have had a much better, much more complete feeling conclusion. But instead, you kill off the CRM like it's nothing, which in turn fucks with the current universe of The Walking Dead. And I think that may be my biggest problem with it to date, is the fact that killing off the CRM the way they did single-handedly destroyed the biggest existential threat that The Walking Dead had. And if Scott Gimple talks about how he wants to unite the characters at some point and have some connective tissue, why would you kill your biggest threat? Because you could have had one really solid season to give a big threat finale with our characters reunited. But instead you don't do that because you kill them off in honestly the most unrealistic way, and then out of nowhere we just see we just hear that the whole reformation of the CRM happened and people are free to leave and all of that stuff. I would have absolutely loved to have seen some of that play out in real time. I think this story was deserving of that, and I know there's a whole side of the argument, and there still is to date, of people saying that you didn't need to have that. Like, you didn't need to see what happens with the CRM because the story was all about Rick Grimes. But I'm sorry, that's just not true. That is not true. We spent up to the point of The Ones Who Live coming out like 6 or 7 years building up the CRM. They were a very well-known huge threat in The Walking Dead's universe at large. I'm talking The Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, Tales of the Walking Dead, all of them. They were there, they were prevalent in all of it, but in the same vein, we just got rid of it like it's nothing. I'm sorry, I don't understand the argument that it's not important. It's extremely important because this civilization really, really mattered because they would kill anyone who wasn't from it. So you can't just wrap it up with a little audio dialogue at the end. That still really, really bothers me. And I know, and I hate to throw shade, I do not mean this, and if he's watching this, Forrest, I don't mean this in a bad way, but I know the movie Idol always says that there could be potential for a season 2 of this show following the CRM and things like that, but how? You killed like the whole thing. I don't understand that. And again, Forrest, if you're watching, I have no issue with your take. I'm using that as something to say. I don't understand how they could because it doesn't really fit. I'm sorry, the story is done. They killed off, in my opinion, any potential for The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live Season 2. Yeah, you could have maybe Rick Grimes in something again, but what would you do with The Ones Who Live Season 2? He already reunited with everyone that really, really matters, who's his immediate family. What are you going to get? Him returning to Alexandria, seeing the CRM and being like, oh, we got to find Daryl? I mean, maybe you could have that, but you could also incorporate that in like one episode of, the Daryl Dixon show or something like that. Or, I don't know. I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent there, but I hope you get what I mean. If you do, comment the very stereotypical at this point dolphin. Go ahead, comment it. I wish I could make a dolphin sound effect. I can't do it like with my mouth. Whatever. Anyway, those are my thoughts really about The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. I think it did do a good job in at least making me feel satisfied with the way we left Rick Grimes, but that doesn't mean it didn't come with flaws, because it certainly did, and I'm still thinking about them. And I still think they're relevant to the Walking Dead universe at large, because killing your biggest existential threat ruins the universe now. Like, there's no stakes to watch any of the spin-offs. Dead City, sure, it looks cool, but like, okay, like it's not building to anything. And same with Daryl Dixon. Yes, we know Rick Grimes returned, but if Daryl's all the way in Siberia, what does it matter? Like, there's no ending in sight to these. There's no existential threat because you had to kill it. And I think that single-handedly ruined The Walking Dead in now terms, like in the modern Walking Dead era. It didn't ruin Rick Grimes, but it did ruin what we could get going forward, I guess. And I just think overall it was disappointing. That being said, again, I still really enjoyed watching it. So yeah, I want to hear your thoughts down in the comments after a year's time. How did you feel about The Ones Who Live? Did you have a problem with it? Did you like it? Blah, 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 all the things. With all that out of the way, be sure to give this video a like rating so we could share it with more people, and subscribe if you haven't already. And also consider becoming a channel member. It's on there, you get some perks. But yeah, with all that out of the way, thanks again so much for watching this video, and until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Peace out. Okay. That was video number 2, and that was the only other. One sec. Ugh, alright. Genuinely have no idea how you talk with no breaks like this. I don't know. Sometimes a video just comes to mind. I don't know. That is a teleprompter though, but I wasn't using it for this video. I use it for like scripted Oh, there we go. My camera's back. Sorry, I don't know what just happened there. I was going to get off, and I still may get off. But yeah. All right, guys. I do have to go. Sorry. But yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for coming out to this one. Sorry I got to run. But yeah, I got 3 videos that are in the pipeline. Okay. Thanks for watching, guys. I love you guys. And take this day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind.